Hi guys, welcome to another SLTV Wrestling Roundtable podcast. We are here as always. This week we're doing something a little bit special. We've got our usual people here, but we've got a special guest. We've got Dan from the Hot Tag Foundation. Are you all right, Dan? You okay?
Yeah, living the dream. You know, it's getting on. I was too busy vibing to your intro music, to be honest. So apologies for that. Yeah, all good. Yeah, all good.
So how do you two all right, Adam? You okay?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Another day,
Right.
you know,
Another day above ground and all that.
another day
Al-
above ground.
Alan, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Another day of invigilating at schools.
Nice, nice, nice. Easy work. Love it. Um, so we're gonna just talk to Dan a little bit about what the Hot Tag Foundation is, what it does, just kind of raise a bit of extra awareness, I guess, and an extra push to tell people what they do and if people want to get involved or just want to check it out and see what it's about and see if they can help or if they anything else really. It's just nice to have someone new to talk to, I'll be honest, because all I do is spend my life talking to these two clowns, let's be honest.
No,
Um,
there's worse life, I'm sure. I'm sure.
so rather than me or one of us being like, so this is what it is and this is what you do, can you give us like an overview of basically what the Hog Tag Foundation is and does and all that stuff?
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, so it's kind of there's so many different ways to describe it. I think that's the beauty of it. So when we first started the hot tag, it was very much centered around getting a donation drive done for Christmas. Giving the gift of pro wrestling for Christmas to young people in disadvantaged areas or maybe in a different sort of privileged area. We worked really hard on that last year, and then this year it's just kind of grew into something different. So the kind of philosophy of what we're going for is so just bring together the wrestling community to promote the camaraderie and the joy and the kindness of the community and the sport itself to present role models to kids who may not have role models, in terms of like getting an action figure for Christmas and finding out who this person is. I remember getting my first Jeff Hardy figure for when I was a young boy, and it changed my life. We as a collective wanted to promote that and then pass it on to the next generation as best we can. It gives a lot to us in terms of who we are as people, in terms of the characters that we've been able to develop, our imagination, our the constant need for being involved in wrestling is one thing that just brings us together. And I think it's brought me and my wife close together. It's brought me and my family close together, and brought me and my friends close together. So yeah, just the best way I can put it is community based projects around pro wrestling, and whether that's collections of toys for a donation drive for Christmas to be delivered to hospital, or Easter eggs to go to children's charities. We like to work as this supply chain network to help you guys feel good about being part of the community, donating to us, and then we do all the hard work to distribute it to get it around there. So we're it's so difficult to describe in a few words, but we are just a collective of people just trying to do something nice in a community that's given us so much.
That's cool. I like that. Are you all wrestling fans? Is that what, like, obviously that's a stupid question because you must be wrestling fans, but is it like a thing where as a wrestling fan, that's what brought you together, or was you already like friends and family and stuff like that? Is that what it was?
So, funnily enough, the team that I formed when we first started was very selective. It was very much like if you don't want to be involved 100%, let's think about maybe not being involved, because I was ready to give it my all at that point.
Yeah.
So once we did generate the logo, everything else, I was like, right, we need to craft a team, and the team that when we first started consisted of myself, my best friend Jonathan, who is my best friend of 20 years, and he was best man at my wedding. We both got into wrestling at the same time. We watched the same pay per view at the first time, and then there was also Dimitri, who was one of our volunteers. We met at my old job when I worked in a restaurant, and he came in a Tyler Bate t-shirt, and I noticed it, and I was like, "You must be a wrestling fan." And then we met up. We met up at the live event in Leeds, and then we just became really good friends from there. So Dimitri's, great guy, and then my friend Nathan, who was my old boss, he was a big part of like the Attitude Era and that kind of stuff. So we do all that, and then my wife, who I've turned into a wrestling fan, was very big on that one. And then finally as well, our youth ambassador Dalton, who was such a enthusiastic young man when it came to wrestling. He was Edgy's biggest fan, and when we did a similar project years ago, my wife, she managed to organise a call with Edge during COVID. Don't know how she pulled it off, but it was one of the best experiences ever. And then we was able to meet Edge when he came to Clash at the Castle. So that was huge for us. But the team itself, we was all just massive wrestling fans, and we all had a story that connected to our childhood. Where you think, this is where my childhood changed, and whether that's getting me getting a Jeff Hardy figure, or me and Jonathan sit together going, my dad's downloading me this DVD. It's called No Way Out 2008. Do you want to watch it together? And it's like, I was going to watch that, and then it just came together like that. So we all had that connective story where I was like, you know what? It's it combines two great passions in life, which is pro wrestling and giving back. So why not do it?
Yeah, it's always good when you turn a wife into a wrestling fan.
Oh,
That's my greatest achievement, I think.
Do you know what? I'll make a game of this. Can you guess the wrestling match that I showed her first, which she was absolutely mesmerized by? You're happy to ask questions prior, because it's one of the most famous matches of all time. It is a gimmick match, not like the gobbledygooker versus whatever. But it's like it's a gimmick match, huge match. I'll pass it on. Can you guess?
I've got a guess.
Go on.
Go ahead.
WrestleMania 17. Dudley's Edge and Christian Hardy Boys.
No, it wasn't actually. No, that was a good shout though. It was one of the top
I was thinking the Hell in a Cell, the Mankind Undertaker.
That's what I was thinking.
Spot on. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Do you know, that's only because, that's one of the first ones I showed my wife. Basically, not obviously taking your time and doing it, but talking about getting wives into it. I did the Total Divas route. So I was like, oh, you want to watch Total Divas? Oh, and then she ended up falling in love with Daniel Bryan. And that's how I did it, and was like, oh, well, Daniel Bryan's fighting with the world title. You love it, don't you? And then that's how she became a wrestling fan. But then when I was like, we want to watch old stuff, I want you to watch old stuff. That was the match. I was like, you've got to watch this because it's just bananas.
Yeah, it was absolutely bonkers. To be fair, the only reason I picked it because I thought, what's one thing that way it's going to be like, oh, it's all fake, when you can actually look at it and go, they're legitimately hurt. And I was like, let's watch something different. I remember going to see a Mick Foley talk for Inside the Ropes where he talked about the whole match. So I had an insider knowledge on the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, you see that bogey hanging out of his nose? That's his tooth. That a little bit like that. So it was a sink or swim situation. She either could have thought I was mentally, dangerous, or I actually enjoyed the sport. So yeah, it paid off. If we'll say that, it paid off.
That's cool. I love that. But yeah, that's sort of the match. Well, to be fair, I remember me and my wife now, but we hadn't been together long, and she was like, I think WrestleMania was happening, and she was like, "Can I watch WrestleMania 1?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you want." And then for 2 hours, I was just like,
oh no, what have I done?
It's hard to justify watching this. Jesus Christ! I was like, oh my, we can watch anyone you want. There's been 30 of them, and she was just like, oh no, we can watch one.
It could have been worse. You could have picked WrestleMania 9 out of a hat.
None of that.
Could have been worse. But
yeah. So how long have you been about doing what you do and
raising? Yes, so funnily enough, we've just celebrated our 1 year birthday. We started out June 1st, 2024.
Oh, wow.
And then we put all focus towards building that trust in the community, and because when we first started the endeavor, and we started speaking to a lot of people, we started Zoom calling people, and they're there's been a lot of negativity in the community, from a different standpoint. What makes you different? How do we know you? And it wasn't the gatekeeping kind of thing. It was a protective thing, and people were very protective of their community, and I get that. We was I was very rare at going to independent shows, back then, and I was like, I want to get involved as best as possible because I remember thinking, oh, there's like 5 or 6 major promotions across the UK. We'll try and hit them, and then it's like, oh, there's this promotion, there's this promotion, and you wouldn't think that every man and his dog has a wrestling promotion in the UK now, and each as individual as their own. So it was so we celebrated our 1 year anniversary. We cracked on, built our reputation up as best we can. And now here we are. We've done so many cool things in that past year where we're like, how do we top that this year? And this year has been very complex because we tried to do something that we wasn't fully prepared for in terms of time and constraints, but it's still working on in the background. We're trying to do a lot towards mental health and adults work and stuff like that, as well as kids. But we've got a great partner in a company called Heavy Metal Therapy, who provided us a lot of great information about their peer support groups and how they run them and stuff like that. So that's a future goal for us to get peer support groups in the wrestling community off the ground. But it's taking a lot more time than we'd expect, obviously, because it's a very sensitive and delicate area. So yeah, we've been doing it for a year. We're absolutely loving it, and we're still riding that high of doing something good.
Yeah. I feel like you've got one or two. You either do what you do or you start a podcast, and we start a podcast rather. It's like when you get a couple of like friends together who've got the same like sort of passion. It's like, what should we do here? What should we do? So, and then yeah, we decided let's do a podcast, and you were like,
Each is important as the last. I'll say that. Like podcasters have been massive help to us. So like I appreciate just the opportunity to talk. So thank you very much.
that's so good.
How have you been in terms of getting, I suppose, support from those independent wrestling companies that you mentioned? Because like I had a similar thing years ago where the only shows I'd been to were mainly WWE shows. I've been to a couple of TNA shows, and then I won a ticket to go and see WCPW when they were doing the World Cup.
Nice.
And straight away I was like, independent shows are so much better because of the sort of interaction that you can have with the wrestlers, the more sort of intimate feel that you've got, the fans that you then recognize time after time. Like I went to North on Friday, first North show in Leeds, and me and my mate Sam, who I went with, we were recognizing people in the crowd who we'd seen at Manchester shows and who we'd seen. So there is that sort of close knit community feel to it, but without sort of like naming any names or anything. Like how forthcoming have companies been in sort of getting you on board and helping you out?
So in the start, it was very complicated because for a lot of people, it was their livelihood. They started this thing, and it's a business to them. They're making money from it, and if we fail, they generally have a part of failure in it because they're entrusting us with looking after their community as well as anything else. So there's a lot of traction at the start. A lot of it's not what you know, it's who you know. We got very lucky, and we had a lot of good support from some pro wrestlers in general who were very gracious to us and to say, oh, you can give these guys the time, the legitimate kind of thing. So we had a lot of that, which was really helpful. But we were very adamant that the fact that we started what we're doing, we want to make sure that people can put faces to the brand. Want to make sure you can put voices to the brand. However you want to put it. But we spoke to people like. I'll name a few names because some of the people that have just been so good to us, like Tidal Wrestling, has been amazing for us in Huddersfield and Leeds. Salford City Wrestling have been great to us. There's so many. Kingdom Wrestling is our biggest one. They do our show every year, which is unbelievable. Wrestle Island, another great company. So they were like, yeah, great idea. Like let's work together. They were so enthusiastic about it. But even some of them were like, I want to know who you are first. I'll invite you down to a show. Let me know what you're all about. Let's have a Zoom call. Yeah, no problem. What time do you want to Zoom? 11 o'clock at night. Perfect. No problem. No problem. It's Sunday night. I've got work at 7 in the morning. Do you know what? That's fine. Let's go. Let's have a 2 hour conversation and let's let you know who we are. So it was a lot of hard graft when we first started, and we were very much like, we want to be as transparent as possible. We want to hide nothing from people. We've got nothing to hide. So if you want to ask any questions, just ask away. And people were very like, oh, do you have any criminal records and all this kind of stuff? I'm like, I don't have a criminal record, I promise you. I've got my DBS check up there if you want to check it. But and I get it. I got exactly why they was asking for it. So and then just having the opportunity to go down to shows and meet people was just a next level because you don't just meet the promoters, you meet the fans, and you kind of recognize them coming from the same people. Like Wrestling Jeebus, for example. I see him all the time, and I'm like, oh, Jeebus, how you doing, man? You all right? And we have that conversation, which is really cool. So even now, like a year on, you'd think we've been around for ages, and we haven't. We've been around for a year. So yeah, it was complex, but the people who wanted to be involved made it worth it. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all I say on that.
So are you the face, or like are you like the guy who does this stuff and the guy who like, or is it very much you just all go out and do what you do and show who you are and like kind of you all the face of, so it's
Mm.
not a thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't go deep as say I'm the face of it because we're a collective of people. I wouldn't. I wouldn't take that away from the team and what hard work we've done, and we've onboarded some really really cool volunteers as well. So I'd say at the beginning it was very much me because I was the one putting all the energy into it, and I'll explain why it's very important that it was at the start because we are a non-profit organisation. We don't take any funding from anywhere. Like it was all self-funded for the first like year, the first 6 months, and then January was like, right, how can we make some money so we can keep doing what we're trying to do, keep
Yeah.
our projects going. So like the first 6 months, we were like, right, let's put faces to the brand. So all five, six of us got on camera. Dalton was on podcast with us. Young Dalton, his mum was on podcast. Like Jonathan, Nathan, me, Laura, all on podcast, just like to so people can go, oh, we know you guys. And then we started with the color blue of the brand, so people could recognize the blue, and say, oh, look out for the blue hoodies. And I think the color was very important to us at the start. Like if you go on my Facebook on our Instagram, and you'll see that we were so close to be called Wrestle Change, and then we
Oh
realized
yeah.
that it didn't fit right, it didn't feel right, and then I started messing around with Wix, and I was like, this kind of works, and then you're trying to think of like words where they have some sort of metaphoric reason behind it. So it's like making that hot tag meant so much behind it, has so much behind it, and you can interpret it so many different ways in this kind of work. So adding the word foundation at the end, boom, perfect. I wanted it to be free. I wanted it to be three words so there can be a HTF, easy. That's how we like to see it. But putting faces to the brand, I'll say that I'm the founder. I look after what I can on like the social media side of it, and I won't lie, I babied the whole thing for the first 6 months. I was like, this is my baby. I want to look after it. I don't want anyone to like mess it up. I'm ready to give it my all because if one of our team messes up, I've got to deal with it and I've got to handle it as best as I can. So we made like safeguarding forms. We made CIC documents in case we wanted to take that route. Charity documents. We wanted to make all that just in case we fancied going for it. But like we all have jobs. We all have life going on behind us. So it's like if someone can't make it, there's enough of us to be like, right, I can't make it. Lauren, who's one of our volunteers, can you make it and talk about what we're doing? Kev, who's the Cody Rhodes cosplayer, can you go do it for us? He's just had a massively cool shirt in Basildon. Like people are so like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, cool. Like, I can go talk about it for days. That kind of thing. Like they'll have literally minimal involvement, but they'll know exactly who we are and what we do, and they'll be able to promote us at the end. So yeah, we were all the face of the company.
Yeah, I love all that. That's like it's so good that even when you're talking, like, you can tell like it's one of them things that like you can sort of hear your passion for it as you
Mm,
talk about it, which is always I always say like it doesn't matter what the subject is,
mm,
but you kind of like if you talk about it with the passion that you're talking about it with, you get it over. Like
mm,
and you can just tell the way you are, and obviously saying about babying it and stuff like that. It's like it is a big thing to you. You can
mm.
see.
Yeah,
So it's not a bad thing to be like, look, I want to make sure that it's the right people and the right things around us to
and
make it
there's
work. Do you know
there's
what I mean?
there's not to jump in, but there's this huge reason I'm so passionate behind it, and I think one of the big reasons was if you go back onto our Instagram and look around the Toyal Rumble time where we took the opportunity to go to Airedale Hospital in Bradford, and there was this little boy who was the biggest wrestling fan ever, spending his Christmas in hospital, and he was like, I'm a big Roman Reigns fan, I'm a big John Cena fan. I was like, I don't know if I've got any figures for you. And then they pulled out this full size ring, that the John Cena and a Roman Reigns in it. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is perfect. And the smile on his face and just playing action figures with his little boy just made it all worth it at that point. Like the hours that we put into it and the time and the whatever. And that I'll go into more about the Toyal Rumble later, but that's when you've got something like that in the back of your head, this like for the rest of your life, it's hard not to be passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Are there
So
any wrestlers that because I started following Hot Tag on
Mm.
Instagram and then sent you the message about coming on the podcast
Mhm.
after I saw good friend of ours, Charles Crowley, share it on his story. And I think the great thing about these UK-based independent wrestlers is that they are suddenly more approachable than, you know, the people that wrestle for WWE, and you find things catching quite easily. Like, we've had a lot of discussions with people from Progress and stuff like that, and like, we're really fortunate that Progress are on board with us covering their events and stuff. Like, are there any specific wrestlers that have maybe even just taken you by surprise by just that simple sharing of something, and you've had quite a groundswell of new followers and things like that so far?
So Charles Crowley was actually our first follower randomly. Don't know how that happened. We kind of just like, he followed us, we emailed him, was like, oh, this is what we're trying to do. I don't know if he got back to us at that point. You know, he's a busy guy. We were very new. Like, we just started the Instagram. I was like, you know, we'll send it over. He'll have us on his radar. That was important to us. Harley Hudson, she was one of our first people as well. We're on her radar, and she's massive now. She's in TNA, you know. But there's not I wouldn't say there's been specific times where like a wrestler's blown up what we're trying to do, but we were being recognised at events by wrestlers and stuff like that. So it's like, which is one of the big things I wanted to do, is like, I wanted people to identify us, not the other way around all the time. So it's not like, oh, this is who we are, this is what we're trying to do. When I'll measure the success of what we're trying to do when people can recognise us first. And that was very important to me. So we spoke to, like, going to these events, like title events, stuff like, we talked to these people, and then was like, if you don't mind us, you know, sharing one of our things on, it mean a lot to us, kind of thing. So just as little things like sharing has been massive for us. It's including like promotions who wanted to work with us has been something cool as well. So I wouldn't be able to pinpoint exactly who or what caused a change in the shift and like drove us followers, but I think it's a whole part of like the collaboration of the network in pro wrestling and the community, where it's just like I said, Charles Crowley, we messaged him and was like, Charles, if you don't, you know, dude, if you don't mind sharing us our t-shirt, we'd love it, we'd appreciate it. And then he shared the story that we put on the other day, like, incredible. Like, he doesn't have to be directly involved, but something like that just means a lot. And I think in a social media world, a lot of pro wrestlers protect their gimmick, even if it's an amateur. You know, even if they're low level professional wrestlers and they're working on the independent scene, that's cool. You know, that's fine. You know, protect your gimmick to all costs, because that's the gimmick that's going to take you to the, you know, next level of your career. That's fine. But like I don't want to go too much into kayfabe at the minute, but like Jack Johnson, who is like, you know, the baddest guy in Salford, you know, is kidnapped our hot tag championship. We're not getting it back, but he's a lovely guy. You know, I don't want to break that, but he's a lovely guy and stuff like that. He's always like up for such cool collaborations. If I'll message him like, dude, I've got an idea, and he's like, okay, cool, perfect. Something like that. You know, it doesn't have to be directly on his page to show it. It's just like, oh, something, yeah, a little message here and there going, how you doing, guys? You're gonna be at this show. Means the world to us. You know, it's really cool. So I can't pinpoint exact change of where, if any wrestlers have been a direct support network on their socials to help us, but I think a lot of it's been like us reaching out to them, like, you know, if you don't mind, take 2 minutes of your time, just pop a share, pop a like, whatever. It means a lot to us, and I think a lot of people have been very generous with that.
It's good. That's what you want. Like, it's nice that people are doing it. Like, obviously, like, we reach out obviously in a different way and be like,
Mm.
do you want to talk about this or do this or whatever it is? And I know it must be a certain thing where a lot of, especially wrestlers, I feel like, get a lot of DMs to be like, do you want to come on my podcast? Do you want to do this? Do you want to?
Yeah.
It must just be like an abundance of
Mm.
like all kinds of messages from all kinds of
Yeah.
people who were just chancing it. And it's nice that you can, like, they're seeing your stuff and they're like, oh, actually, this is a bit different and this isn't the regular thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this might sound like a stupid question, but is the kind of end goal, or like the idea, I suppose, is to get to like a worldwide, like, WWE being involved situation, or are you just like, I'm happy for it to be a small? I know that sounds kind of stupid,
Yeah.
but
No,
would you go
no.
into it like, well, I want it to be all over the world, or are you just like, no, that's not what this is about. This is very much a community thing.
So as much as we can dream about it, I think because we were very stern on our mission and aims when we first started, and one of the big key words in that was Brit Rest. You know, we were very much like we want to bring the Brit wrestling community together. I'm not too fixated on it going global because that seems like a lot to manage. And for someone that we don't take a paycheck from it or anything, it's a lot to manage. Even in British wrestling, it's a lot to manage. So it's like I'm very happy with the trajectory that we're on and the community that we have behind us. Where I'm not gonna jump to like, oh, let's think about going to France or let's think about going to
Yeah.
wherever. Maybe Ireland. Ireland would be cool. You know, they've got some great promotions in Ireland. But it's all about like the network that we have. Like we're all based in the east of England, you know, northeast of England kind of thing. And then we've got Kev who's down south, and we've got Lauren and stuff from the real wrestling guys from before. They're all joined us now, and they're in the centralised Manchester Liverpool area. So it's like if we have the people to be able to support you there, we'll happily do that there and do what we can. We've got Ross, our guy in Scotland as well. We've got them all over the place, but it's all about the time, you know. I don't expect people to be like, right, I'm going to drop everything and do what we're doing. You know,
Yeah.
this is cool. If you can't make it, that's cool. One of us can try and make it. Like, I'm not 100% like, oh, I'm super bummed that we can't be at this show because there's going to be a next show, and we'll get to the next show. We'll
Yeah.
be there someday. You know, so there's no massive end goal in terms of like where we can go. We're happy just building the British wrestling community to where it can be. And you know, even like these new fans, because we've been to a lot of shows like New Generation Wrestling in Hull is a different beast because it's a lot of families who go there. But and when you go to like Tidal Wrestling or you go to North Wrestling, they're genuine wrestling fans who go to them shows. Like 100% of the people who go there, maybe barring the odd stag do or whoever turns up, maybe a few parents with kids. 80-90% of them are pro wrestling fans and they're ready. When you go to like NGW, it's a completely different beast because it's parents taking the kids to a family friendly wrestling show. So you'll speak to the parents, they'll have no clue what you're talking about. But like, hey, do you want to be part of a free raffle so your kid can win a toy? Yeah, I'll hear what you got to say. It's a completely different kind of beast. So, it's just it's completely different. I don't know how to describe it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
No, yeah, I think it's one of them is where it's like that you get different fans and and I feel like you must get different fans in different parts of the country as well.
yeah.
Like you get fans who are like more because I've found obviously we mentioned progress. I've
Mm,
found that we have listeners who are progress fans who have
mm,
no interest in what anything else that we do.
mm.
It's weird. Like we get people talking to us about progress,
Yeah,
and at the same time, we'll never ever comment on anything to do with like WWE or AEW or anything like that because they're like a British wrestling fan, and they're
mm.
like, I'm not really interested in that American stuff because it's a bit too this or it's a bit too that. But
Oh, nothing wrong with that. The product in British
yeah,
wrestling,
yeah,
top
yeah.
quality. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. So I get that completely.
Yeah, but that's what I
Mm.
mean. You kind of get like different people who are interested in different things, but they all fall under the quote unquote wrestling umbrella, if you
Yeah.
like. They're all wrestling fans. Um, yeah. So obviously, what you mentioned in the second Toyal Rumble, do you want to just tell us what that is and in like what you're doing and all that stuff? Because that's coming up, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is going to come up again in August. We announced it on our birthday. That it is returning this year, and Total Rumble is it's a different thing now where we targeted our demographic was to reach adults. Do what we can do and reach adults because they're the ones who are going to primarily donate toys to us. They're the ones who can buy a toy. We can speak to kids, we speak to families, that. But we've got to do something a bit extra in terms of contact with these families to do that. But you meet wrestling fans like, I've got spare wrestling toys at home. I'll donate them to you. That's cool. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, send them our way. So I'll give you a little backstory about the Toy Rumble last year. So we started it in August, which was brilliant. It would give us 4 months to build who we are, attend shows. I think we attended about 30 independent wrestling shows in that whole time, and then including like AEW All In as well, stuff like that. We did all that kind of stuff. But it went from like, oh, we're going to take unused toys and stuff like that, and clothes and whatever you can donate, and we'll find a place for them. We'll deal with it closer to Christmas, and then we can organise the logistics of it all. So we attended all these shows. We meet all these people, and then we get to October, and we're speaking with Gaz from Kingdom Wrestling in Shipley, who, if you don't know who they are, you need to check them out because they're so cool. They're a wrestling charity, but they do it out of a church, and then they use like church and biblical stories in the wrestling ring and stuff like that. It's really cool, really innovative. But they do a lot of work with kids, and they do a lot of work with people who are in trouble with schools and stuff like that. So they do a lot of really cool work. So we work with them a lot. And then Gaz comes to me and goes, right, I've got an idea. How about the Total Rumble show? And that was huge because I was like, that was one of my end goals was like to have our own show. And Gaz comes to us and goes, right, I've got a really cool idea. We're going to do a battle, like a Royal Rumble called the Total Rumble. We're going to get 100 people in. We're going to ask them to bring donations. We're going to ask the wrestlers to bring donations, do all that. And then we're going to have a big show where we have a big battle royal, all this kind of stuff. I was like, okay, now it's getting real. Now it's getting real in October. Because obviously people aren't going to donate to a Christmas drive in August. Like, being realistic. No one's going to be like, yeah, no problem. So it got to like October. We had this really cool idea. We're going to do it in December. Then it got to October, came along. We did all that. We got that. We got Wrestle Island involved for another show where they did donations for us. And then it got to this part where it was like, right, we need to decide where we're donating these toys to. And it was like, oh, we don't know where we're going to donate them to. So we were trying to find out. It was like, right, I want 2 charities at least that we're going to distribute these toys to, or distribute what to. And then Gaz comes to me and goes, right, we're going to do it at Airedale Hospital. I was like, okay, that's big. That's huge. We're going to get a wrestler there. We're going to do what we can do. Bring that. We'll take the toys in. There's only one problem. Okay. They'll only take new toys or things that can wipe. I was like,
oh
okay,
yeah.
what am I going to do with all these toys I've got? I was like, okay, right, we'll find a way. So we did that, and we completely shifted. We was like, right, we need box toys or new toys because they're going to go to kids in hospital in Christmas. We need new toys because they're going to go directly to these kids, or there's going to be a wrestling ring in a playroom in a kids' hospital. Let's do that. So then we got reached out by a guy called I don't know if you've ever heard of Soul Sessions podcast in Scotland. They reached out to us where he was like, right, I want to offer up my NXT tag team championship belt on a raffle and donate the money to you guys. And I was like, okay, what? Okay, that's fine, that's cool.
Wow.
We raised about 50 quid from that, and then we matched it, so it was like 100 quid, and we went out, we bought 2 rings, we bought loads of figures, we got all this kind of stuff, like 100 odd quid. I've got the receipt actually there from Smith. So we did all that, and then it started getting real when people were seeing that we're actually doing something, which was really, really cool. And then it got to the Toyota Rumble show, and was about we got like 100 toys at this point. I was like, right, we've got two charities sorted already. We've got Airedale Hospital, and then we wanted, because our big thing was like, we're going to give back to the communities that give us the most. So if we get a lot of stuff from Liverpool and Birkenhead, I'm not going to send it to Scotland. We're going to send it back to them, to make sure they're all cool. So we brought like any toys that came to one of our volunteers, and we wiped them down, sanitized them, boxed them up, whatever. Even we was like, oh, we'll even wrap them for you. And I was like, no, you can't wrap toys. I was like, okay, brilliant, fantastic. So we lost all that. And then the Toyota Rumble show came around, and everyone just bought toys. We had so many toys, and I think by the end of the drive, we had about 300 toys that we had, including like unused, used toys, clothes, you name it. We had about 300 toys, about 20 shirts, blah, like all this unusual stuff. I was like, right, now we've got the job of logistically getting it places. So we did that. Luckily, we had a guy called Big John Rehab, who came to our Kingdom Wrestling show, Toyota Rumble. He took toys back with him, then gave them to our youth ambassador Dalton and his family, and they distributed them to the Kasha and Cams units in Blackpool, which was really, really cool for them to do. So they did that, they got involved, and then we did the Airedale drop and was like, we've got so many toys left over. What we're going to do. So we reached out to 2 charities where we're from, Life for a Kid, who do a lot in terms of like boxing and rugby, and so where it was we made the connection anyway because we're from the community, and was like, right, we want to help you and do what we can. They had a toy drive. We was like, right, we'll give you all these toys, and then the Special Stars Foundation as well, who do like sensory stuff for kids on the spectrum, autistic kids, people with neurodivergent issues, like disabilities and stuff like that. So that was really, really close to like I live with Tourette syndrome, so I appreciated them being on board as well, and they appreciated. So we donated to their Santa stuff and like that. So the Toy Rumble went off really, really well, and it was very important. We didn't take any money from anybody. We blatantly refused money. So people were like, "Oh, we can't buy you a toy. Can we donate?" Yeah, buy the toy. Send it on Amazon if you have to. Don't give us any money because we have no way to track it. And people respect. I think people respected that at the time. It was like, right, that's cool. They're not in it for money. We're in it for toys. So we did it all. We logged them all in an Excel spreadsheet, where they were going, where they came from. Blah, blah, blah. We've got all that logged on our database. So Toy Rumble came out. We'd got the show out of the way and was like, right, we've got 7 days to turn these toys around across 4 different charities. Luckily, we did it. Don't know how we did it. Some sort of miracle. I got on a train at 8 a.m. to go to Shipley to meet Gaz with 3 big bags of toys. And it was like, oh, what, some old woman was like, she looked at me and she was like, are you just Rob Smith or something? I was like, no, no, I promise I'm going to go to a charity. I promise. And we got there. And it was so fun. But after this, we were all shattered because we'd worked so hard to get to that point. And when we finally got into Airedale Hospital, and we had all these kids come out one by one just to meet me and Gaz and talk about wrestling and just see their enthusiasm for it. That made our whole 6 months of tenure at that point worth it. And it was absolutely unbelievable moment. I cannot thank Gaz enough for the support he's given us. And I'm happy to say that Toy Rumble 2 not only will be our next donation drive, but also the Toy Rumble 2 will return to Kingdom Wrestling in Shipley on November 29th this year, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. So absolutely go check that out. If you're in the area of Shipley or you fancy just making a trip out, I highly recommend it. We had our guy Dimitri in the ring last year. Never set foot in the ring in his life. It was so funny. He eliminated Big Popper, who was like £400. Eliminated him. There's a big celebration. And then Jack Johnson super kicked him in the face and eliminated him. But it was just so funny. There's so many little things about it that just made us all smile. It was such a worthy cause. So highly recommend if you're in the area of Shipley, fancy making the drive out, do it. Very much worth it.
We can definitely try and work Shipley around what we're doing, I think.
Shipley, it's such a good community as well. Kingdom Wrestling community was really good because everyone was so nice to us. I think because a lot of them are religious, they've all turned their life around in the name of God. That's good. It's not personally our agenda, but we support what they're doing because they're doing a lot with youth groups, doing a lot with bringing people into their church, which is really cool. So let them do what they want to do, and we can work together to do what we can do. So yeah, it was brilliant. That's Toy Rumble. That was Toy Rumble 1, absolute success. Toy Rumble 2, not going to be as successful, probably, but we're hoping it will be. But we'll see what happens. And luckily,
it will be. I'm sure it'll be just as successful. So if anybody wants to get involved or find yours or want to know more or basically anything about you, we will put it all in the all links and all stuff like that. But it's anywhere where you can the best place to direct you if you want to know more or want to help or anything like that.
Yeah, so unfortunately our website has gone down because we couldn't afford the cost of running it every year. It was like £300 a year to run it, but we don't need it. So we're all on Instagram. We finally reached 1,000 followers. I was buzzing about that. Yeah. Our Instagram is always manned by us. So is our Facebook page. Find us on social media. So find us on TikTok. We never use it, but we're on TikTok. But if you want to reach out, we're not technically savvy. We just got on there for the fun of it. But reach out to us on Instagram if you want to get involved. We do accept volunteers all year round. We'll be subject to DBS checks and safeguarding checks, and we've got some great people around the country who can also give us that community check as well. So if if someone's a bit they've got a reputation, we know because we know people in the community.
Yeah.
So it will be subject to all that because we are a legitimate organisation where we look after our own people and look after the community. So we do volunteering opportunities such as we've just started our sign making campaign at shows. So if you want to reach out and book us for a show, if we can make it, we'll be there. We'll bring the enthusiasm. We'll bring sign making stuff for the kids and bring involvement for the adults as well. It's really, really fun. We've done it twice now. It's just been absolute hoot both times. So yeah, if you want to book us for that, go ahead and reach out. We don't charge for it either. It's all free. We fund it ourselves, but we do say if you can have the opportunity to donate, you can donate to our PayPal and say if we did a good job, donate there. And we did get a nice donation from Talks with Dorks podcast from their past show that Kev did for us. So We appreciate that. We got some great feedback as well on their streams. So that's the way to want to reach out to us. We all man it. My name's Dan. Buy our t-shirt. You can't see it probably because it's probably on Spotify or wherever.
We do it on,
We're on YouTube, Dan. We're in the future.
We're on YouTube. We're on YouTube. Buy the shirt. Buy the shirt.
Yeah,
made by Fast Count Clothing. The link is on our Instagram and our bio, and our supporters are on the back who sponsored the t-shirt and made it all happen. So thank you to you guys. And you know, I think the best way to sum it up, and once again, it's our slogan for a reason. You know, to get involved, you've just got to reach out, reach for the hot tag.
That's so clever. I love, like, I proper love
It's so clever.
Like it really is so, like, when you think about it, because you obviously we talking about the name before, and I was like, it's actually really quite clever. Like
it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfectly marked. So is the Royal Rumble. Perfectly marketable material. Hot tag foundation. You know, it just made sense. So yeah, reach out to us when you can.
Is there anything anybody wants to add? Like, I think we've covered everything. Do you want to anything?
I mean, I was going to add one thing. You know, you're talking about growing up being a wrestling fan. When you first got into wrestling, did you ever sort of, imagine that this is what you'd be helping out towards? Like you were saying, having a Jeff Hardy action figure, doing what you're doing now, sort of giving back to that fan base, giving back to that community. How sort of, how important has that been for you?
So, as a kid, I dreamed to be a pro wrestler, as you do. I unfortunately live with Tourette syndrome and spina bifida, which does not allow me to spina bifida occulta. It doesn't allow me to take a lot of bumps to the spine, so I must be careful in that respect. So that dream was out the way. I've got a terrible anxiety, so I couldn't be a manager. I couldn't do all that kind of stuff. I don't have any money, so I can't be a promoter. What's the best way I could do it with no way? It doesn't cost me a penny. I'm going to make a charity. I'm going to make a non-profit organisation. Don't really like the word charity, but people easily make that assumption. But yeah, we are a non-profit organisation, and I think we did a similar project. I got involved in a similar project about 5 years ago now, and I was just someone who came in to help. But unfortunately, due to creative differences at the time, I left the group. Then I did my degree. I got married. I did all the things that I wanted to do at that time. And I was like, there's no better time to start again. This is what I love doing. I enjoyed doing it. And I can put my own creative spin on it. This is what I wanted, what I did before to be. And we've all been able to do it with a lot of help from our friends. So yeah, this is where we are. I'd show you the belt. I'd show you our beautiful belt, but Jack Johnson's stolen it. Hopefully we'll get that back soon. But if you ever get a chance and you're in and we come to a show and we have the belt, it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of
I'm sure I've seen it, because I follow you. I'm sure I've seen it on your Instagram. And
boys track, circle plate. Yeah.
It's definitely on there, and it was made so perfectly for us. But it's there. I just want to touch it again. I've got the urge to get the belt back. I'm going to get the belt back. You just got to watch this space and maybe.
Who made the belt for you? Who was it who made the belt?
There was a company called Royal Belts on Facebook. They made it for us. And do you know what? It was very cost effective. It was very, very well made. And for the material and how it was made, it was very like they made. I'll show you this because we're on YouTube. Why not? So when I got married, I was allowed to do one thing for the wedding. Can you guess what I did? This is my wedding belt.
Wow!
Nice.
Yeah,
this is my wedding belt. Yeah, it has all the information on it. It has our first date, our name, the date.
Wow.
And it even has a bride suplexing a groom on the back as well.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's amazing.
Good idea.
So we got this made, and I was like, right, I trust this guy to make me another one. And you know what? It was 4mm zinc. The leather's all nice and cut. It looks the part, plays the part. It's heavy. Like, it's got a weight to it. So
it looks heavy. It looks heavy. Like,
and the biggest fear was that because the flat packet from where they send it from, I was very worried that it was going to be like bent, but it came. The leather's so flexible. The plates are rock solid. It really plays the part. So, if we're ever in the area or we're in the same area and you see us like around and we have a belt, come take a picture of it because it's so cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. We definitely will. Love a good belt. We're all belt marks. I'm telling you.
I've got like 4, but I'm scared to show you my collection. I didn't want to. I will say this before I go because I always enjoy doing this when I'm on podcast. But I want to know what your favorite piece of wrestling memorabilia you have is, and I want to see it.
I
Right.
can't show you, man, but I can tell you, man.
Go
So
on. Go on.
I ended up with a free um actual world heavyweight title. So
Nice.
like it's a real WWE one,
Hmm.
like a replica, and I got it for free. And I worked my ass off basically through one way or another because they were giving them away. Basically, they were giving them away if you swap from Sky Sports to BT Sport when it went to BT Sports.
Really?
This weird random thing that was on for like a week, and I think they didn't expect anyone to be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, there's going to be a lot of things." It kind of blew up, and then so I ended up messaging and was like, "I changed over like last week," so I went back and forwards with about 5 or 6 different people, and
Hmm.
was like, "If I do nothing else in my life, I'm getting this belt. Like that's all I'm doing." And the reason I can't show you is because it's on my mantelpiece. So yeah,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
downstairs. Which, or to be fair, everyone's like, no way it stays there because there's no way your missus lets you do that. Like, yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
mine. Actually,
Nice.
or I off these two when I got married, I got a Macho Man and Elizabeth canvas
Nice.
when he won the title, and that's just outside my bathroom. On
Very nice. Like to
so
see that.
with two.
Love to see
Go on.
that.
I've got my collection of Mania programs. So I went to 25, 26, and 28.
Nice.
And the multiple autographs in there. I've
Hmm.
got a big poster on that side of the door, which is the Cena Rock poster, which came all the way back from Miami with me.
Yes.
All the little things that I've bought and all that kind of stuff. But I'll say it because he didn't say it. Up, up there in my little frame, I've got 2 pieces of confetti from when Brian
Oh yeah,
Danielson won the title at Wembley last year when we
Oh,
were at All In.
I've got that. So
So
yeah,
it's up there.
I was in a box at Wembley Stadium for that 'cause I won the Hooked on Wrestling raffle and I was in a box for that. It was such a
there
great
it is.
moment.
That's
Oh,
Daniel
Yeah.
Bryan confetti.
So nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
When he won the
Basically, where
title.
we were sat, we saw the cannons, and I kept saying dinner all night. I was like, Brian's winning because those cannons are there. And then
Yeah,
towards the end, they just went off. But yeah.
yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Great
yeah.
moment. Great
So
moment.
I'd look around what I've got sort of in my room that's wrestling related, not a photo of myself and a former jockey. Um, so I've got a photo, a signed photo of the Young Bucks, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
A photo of the first WWE show I went to, which was headlined by John Cena and Rey Mysterio taking on Edge and Big Show. But the thing that sort of stands out the most to me and means the most to me, I've bored Adam and Ty far too much over the last few months since I went to this show. But it was seeing, I don't really know how clear this has come out on my phone, but it was seeing CM Punk and Cody Rhodes main event a show in Nottingham.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't need to sort of talk too much about how important CM Punk has been to
Hmm.
me as a wrestling fan. Because
I'll say.
Adam and Ty ripped me far too much about my
I'll say
CM Punk
this.
fandom.
So before we did the podcast, we used to like well, still got the site, the website, but we all used to write. So it's my website, but we always used to write for it, and that's how we ended up like getting. Well, me and Adam were like friends before that, but then we worked out that Callum's been like a part of the site for 10 years nearly. So basically for the 10 years that CM Punk didn't wrestle, or the 8 years or whatever it was, every single year around Royal Rumble time, Callum would write something to be like, he's coming back this year. It'd be a new thing that he'd be like, he's coming back there. And then he must have wrote about 9 things, basically with exactly the same thing in it, being like, yeah, he's definitely coming back. It's happening. And then he actually did. And yeah, Callum lost his mind. It was quite funny.
I was
I
like that bit from Titanic, where they go to the old Rose. It's been X how many years.
84 years.
Yeah, I could just
Yeah.
imagine myself being like a 60-year-old and Punk got inducted to the Hall of Fame as a 90-year-old. I'm like, well, that's enough for me.
nice. Nice. To be fair, our volunteer Dimitri, he's just had some CM Punk shoes, like bespoke CM Punk shoes made.
Wow.
He had to message him and say, "Can I have these shoes? But I don't want the Chicago logo on because he's a what's it? He's a fan of another sport, an NFL team." And I was like, "Okay, no worries, dude." So he had to wait like around 4 weeks for these shoes. but he's straight edge because of CM Punk, so he's got a massive
Yeah.
vibe with CM Punk as well. So I respect that completely. I guess it's my turn. I've got plenty of stuff. I've got plenty of stuff, but I'll definitely bring this bad boy down because this is my favorite. So when I was younger, I told you about my first ever Jeff Hardy figure, getting it, and I was able to get it back and then get it signed by the man himself.
Wow.
Wow.
Which was my first. This Cyber Sunday Jeff Hardy figure was my first ever figure when I was younger. I found it on eBay. I bought it boxed, and then I sent it off to America to get it signed, and it was the happiest day of my life. So
That's amazing.
this is my G. Other than that, besides Jeff, it's got to be Eddie Guerrero as well. He's my G.
Oh, here we go.
He's
Come
my
on.
guy.
Here we go.
The shrine.
So yeah, I would show you the rest of my shrine, but it's kind of scary. I think I've got a weird man crush against Roman Reigns. To be fair,
Yeah. You saying Eddie like Eddie
Anything Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, wait.
Like, these two go all the way back to me constantly tweeting saying, when am I going to get an Eddie Guerrero Funko Pop? And then, oh my God.
Wow.
I mean, there's my pithy response.
That's
That's my beauty. He was my first upgrade of that belt from a commemorative to a replica, and it's got like TV made leather and stuff on it, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's heavy as hell, but so good, so nice. But I do have an Eddie figure actually. I've got the Eddie pop vinyl up there. I've got a Christmas tree of pop vinyl. I'll send you some pictures of what I've actually got, and you can see them all for yourself. But one more thing as well, and this guy means so much to who I am. As an adult now as well, and I'll have to move my camera. But like we went to Follow Love of Wrestling in 2021. When he came, he got released by WWE in this point, I think, in 2021, 2022, and was like, right, I want to meet this guy. Couldn't afford to meet him. I was heartbroken. So and we had to go the opposite day to when he was there. So there was an artist there called The Art of Fish who goes to a lot of Comic Cons and stuff like that. And it was the end of the day, and he was trying to get rid of his stock, and I saw this beautiful picture. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's my Fiend painting.
Wow.
You're gonna get Ty for the Fiend now.
Yeah, you're gonna make me cry. Like,
it's absolutely it's one of my favorite pieces just to come in and look at, because it makes you appreciate the creativity and imagination that I've been able to develop from watching pro wrestling for so long. Yes. And even if it's just like, and it just like I don't know, it's been like an instruction manual to life on some occasions where you just think back and think. I remember the moment when Jeff won his first WWE title at Armageddon in 2008, and I can look back and think, I remember when Drew McIntyre won the Royal Rumble 2020 and stuff like that. Just makes you think about. And when the Fiend returned at Extreme Rules, me and my wife were like falling asleep, and then the Riddle Seth Rollins thing, and it went black, and he was there. He was like, "Oh my God," and it means a whole lot to what we're doing now in terms of like mental health and stuff like that. So he's our guy.
I often say that that Bray Wyatt is me spirit animal. Like he's the guy who, like, as you say, like the creativity and the way he did stuff. And I think just wrestling in general, I feel like you kind of touched on it a bit there, and we never really talk about it because it's like it's baby oiled grown men in knickers hugging each other. But like if you dig a little bit deeper, it's like I think wrestling in general teaches you a lot of like acceptance, and a lot of like people can be or do whatever they want, and people can succeed in different ways. And nobody really ever talks about that, but I feel like I am very much the person I am because of wrestling. And a very accepting and like open person, because you kind of that sort of rainbow of people that you get who do whatever they want. It's like you can have a favorite wrestler who I remember when I was a kid thinking Goldust was amazing because he was so different.
Yeah.
And then just plainly accepting the fact that he got his onesie ripped off and he had women's underwear underneath, and I was just like, you do you, fella. It's all good. And it's one of them where it's like you wouldn't get that in anything else. But it's that thing of, well, he's doing his thing and that's cool. Do you know what I mean? But then 30 seconds later, you've got this big, massive fella who's got like ripped with muscles and he's doing all sorts, like just anything goes. And I think that's the best thing about wrestling, and once you get on the same wavelength as fans, like it's just the coolest thing ever.
Once you got on that roller coaster, you aren't getting off.
No, that's it.
Absolutely
Like
not.
it's
Yeah,
it's one of them.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
um, yeah, as I say, I think we'll put everything to do with the Hot Tag Foundation and everything else on. We'll do it on our pages, so it'll be in like the comments and all stuff like that, and then I will do a thing to say that we spoke to you, and we'll like promote that and all stuff like that. But if you ever need any help with anything, anything at all, we are happy to help. We're happy to do
Super.
our thing.
I really, really, really appreciate that. It means a lot
Yeah,
to
like
people.
and genuinely, like, just as an open invitation, if you ever want to come back on and just talk wrestling, like,
Yeah.
by all means,
I'm
like,
you, man.
we're here.
I'm a big WWE guy. I don't mind AEW every now and again, but I think because I stuck through WWE for like, I don't know, Baron Corbin pouring dog meat on Roman Reigns. I've been through the worst of the worst, and
Yeah.
you know that was the promotion that helped me through a lot when I was a kid. I think I'm a stand for them. I do enjoy AEW's products, but I'm a big WWE guy. So if you want to talk WWE, I'm your man.
All day. All day.
We're,
That's
we're
what
a
we'll
mixed
do.
bag.
Yeah.
Like, we do recent stuff. We go back and do, like, you've joined us in the middle of us doing an Ultimate Money in the Bank episode. So we're gonna stitch that together, and yeah,
Nice. I'm very
anytime,
excited.
anytime.
Very excited to watch it on
Yeah.
the weekend. Very excited to watch it. I
Yeah.
was there 2023 to watch Money in the Bank. I was dressed as LA Knight, ready for him to win it. And Damian Priest broke my heart. But you know, there's everything happens for a reason in wrestling. I think that's another thing that I like about wrestling is like everything happens for a greater story. Like when Cody lost to Roman at WrestleMania, it's like, why have they done this? Why have they? And it's like, just let him cook. Like, and
Yeah.
it's like he had to go through Brock, and he had to go through all like the pain and what have you to get to that position where he made himself the biggest baby face ever.
Yeah.
And it's like just let it cook. Just like take time. Like, that's all you need to do. And I think that's one thing I've learned in wrestling. Just let it cook. Let it cook. Yeah.
That's such a good way to end. Like, let it cook. Like, you know where you're going, you know what you're doing. Just let it cook, man. Like, we're all good. We're okay where we are. We're gonna get bigger. It's all good. Like,
Actually, I will leave you on one thing. Buy this t-shirt. It's pretty cool. It's really
it
cool.
is a cool t-shirt.
Well,
Like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, just done it.
Yeah,
there you go.
I've got a quote.
there you go.
The guys literally like, come on, you've got to get sales, man. I'm like, I'm trying, man. but yeah, we'll get it there. We've had about 10 to 15 sales already. You know, even having 2 or 3 people just like, oh, I bought your t-shirt.
Yeah.
Great. See him pop in the wild. And I think the good thing about it is that it's fashionable anyway. It's an NWO style t-shirt. People are like, yeah, cool. Like, and they'll recognise it and go, I thought it was an NWO t-shirt.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not bad. Yeah, I'll tell you who we are. Like, who they are. Kind of thing. So yeah.
The only thing that kind of annoys me about being SLTD is that we couldn't get away with a NWO style t-shirt. That was an oversight on my part.
Everyone does it. Everyone does it.
Rookie mistake.
We just know we had 3 letters, so it was like, oh, perfect. NWO.
I know everyone said I've been peddling these 4 letters for 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, but you had Jeff Jarrett say them, so we're fine.
Yeah, that is true. We had Jeff Jarrett on. Yeah.
Nice.
Before you go, actually, is there somebody who'd be like, oh, it'd be so cool to have that person in my t-shirt? Would it be Jeff Hardy? To have
Oh
that
yeah, 100%. Because I think his artistic direction would be just what I'd be looking for. And like it you know, I was meant to make, because I bought a commemorative world heavyweight title, and I was supposed to meet him back in 2020, and then COVID struck. So that was my childhood dream ripped from me at the back. I went to a horrible sadness. I was like, I'm sick of this world. I don't want to. I'm sick of it. I want to meet Jeff, for Christ's sake. But yeah, I'd love to meet Jeff. I think if anyone like fantasy booked who would be joining the Hot Tag Foundation, do you know who it'd be? Mick Foley.
That would be a good one.
Mick Foley, because he's the biggest Christmas guy ever, and having him dress up as Santa Claus and stuff, that would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Such a give and do, like, as well as it being Mick, like, you could believe him doing it. Like, he's such a giving guy. Like, he like gives a lot of his time and like money and different things. And I know that he's recently sold his WWE title belt to help fund Sabu.
That's nice.
So yeah, because he had his title that like stank basically because he like lived with it.
Yeah.
So when he was the champ, he got to keep his world title. And he's recently sold it or auctioned it or something like that to help Sabu with it, like
No.
either when he was alive or to help with his funeral costs. So he is a proper giving dude. So
Yeah.
for him to do that, it wouldn't be like totally out of left field. Like so, that's
Yeah.
man. Always good to have a high goal. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, we'll do our thing. We'll, as I say, anything you need, we'll be all over it. All links and all stuff
Mhm.
for everything and everything you do will be all there. But as always, stay safe, stay entertained, and check out Hot Tag Wrestling Foundation. And we will catch you next time.
Thank you very much.